Well, okay, good. Yeah, everybody's good. Thank you all for your patience. Didn't know we ran into first my traffic issue, and then got here and then didn't order the food, so we had to order the food. And but the food should be here around 6:45, so there will be food. Yeah, just so you know. But there will be drinks outside too. You can get it from the kitchenette area too. So okay, so food's coming soon. Okay, good. Okay, and there's coffee and tea as well, hot chocolate too. So, okay, all right. So I'm going to start because it's already running a little late. So, welcome all to CJUG. Today, we're very glad and thank you again to IBM for sponsoring today's meetup. The theme for today is really about infrastructure, resource monitoring, and data security for developers. So, and our two IBM architects are here to present. So I'll do the introduction in a little bit, but let me go here. Just first of all, to let me do some, introduction, and just want to make sure that I'm sure all of you are already, you got your notification from Luma system, right? You have subscribed. Okay, great. Yeah. We're still trying to tell folks to sign up. So if you happen to know of anybody that says, okay, they can't find us on meetup.com, I think somehow we are still there, but it's not, is deprecated, whatever. But if you can pass the word on, we would appreciate as well. So otherwise, too, yeah, tell folks to subscribe to our Luma, the CJUG page, and you can sign up there. You have already done it, so it's fairly straightforward too. So, and just so to reassure you, your email address, we actually have your email addresses, but we do not sell it or give it to anybody else. So just be reassured of that too. So, okay. Next thing, today's we have raffle. Like if you're usual CJUG attendees, you know we run these raffles and at really the compliment from JetBrains too. So they're donating like 2 free licenses to us every month. And so the only requirement from our side is that you cannot be a you cannot be a what you call it there's a word for it, but you cannot be the winner within the past 9 months, and then but if it's over 9 months you're eligible again to enter into this drawing, so we'll have two. So okay, that's that. Oops, let me go. It's kind of tricky. Can't get it to work. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll use the arrow. Yeah. Okay. So just some housekeeping. Please remember to start using our Luma. And then also there's the Chicago Tech Slack. If you haven't already joined, if you'd like to be connected to other folks too on the Chicago Slack community. And we also have the Java Off Heap podcast that's still being done by Freddie and his friends that they used to be helpers of CJUG, but they have since stopped helping, unfortunately, but they are still friends. Okay. Okay, and also want to remind you we are also on Mastodon for the Fediverse. So we have CJUG and also the Kotlin folks too. There's also one in here, in there. If you're a Mastodon user, please subscribe to us there or follow us there. And then we also continue to be on X and Twitter as well. So it's not able to see that, but I guess you can find us if you search for us on Twitter. Yeah, scroll. Yeah, somehow it's not scrolling. Yeah, it's kind of maybe just have to not. Well, anyway, you can find us. It's CJUG. Yeah, that's our handle. So that's easy enough to find. So won't worry about it. Okay. And we have our chat channel for today on Discord. So if Madhu and Kowlin, if you want to sign up for our Discord, and we invite folks to communicate with speakers too on the specific channel for that meetup. So if you like to do that, it's there. And this is a QR code to join the Discord channel if you haven't already done so. Oops. Next thing, community info. Okay. Community info, we are community partner with the following groups at JetBrains, and they are very generous, giving us 2 licenses per month. And then also devitjobs.us, they have job listings too, if you happen to be looking for jobs or if you are interested to see what jobs are there. They do have jobs, like international jobs as well, not just for the US. So, okay, let me go. Let me do this. Okay. And upcoming events on the next month, October 16th, we'll be having a sponsor. It's actually Discover Financial Services, and we're trying to see if Billy Corando from the Oracle Java Developer Advocacy Team, if he can come. He would like to come, but right now he doesn't know his schedule if it will allow him to. But otherwise, if he comes, he will be talking about Java 25, which actually is going to come out tomorrow. So that should be really good too. And then we also have Ankit Jain will be speaking about Spring AI, and Ankit is right here. Thank you, Ankit. So Ankit is also an architect at Discover too. So, and then for November's meetup, we'll be having Michael Caducci. If you follow him, he's the magician. He also does some magic on the side, his side jobs too. It's very interesting. He always gives very interesting presentation as well. And if you were at the No Fluff Just Stuff, I think he was there too, just 2 months ago. So otherwise too, he is going to present a topic about microservices. I have yet to get the title from him too. So. And then other confirmed speakers, I keep saying, okay, they're from Oracle, the advocacy team. We have Alina, who is the GraalVM advocate, and also Josie Pamald, who's based in Paris. But both of them are remote. So I'm trying to see if they can do it remotely, maybe do a lunch meetup for us too, if there are enough interest in those topic areas too. So Josie is really good. Josie's been with Oracle for quite some time, and he's very well versed in a lot of Java core topics as well. So. And then we are still trying to see if there are enough people, enough interest to do on meetup or on conference style meetup too. So let me know if anybody is interested in that. Okay, and if you are interested in speaking at CJUG, please send your proposal to present@cjug.org. And for job seekers and recruiters, we have CJUG, we have a group on LinkedIn. That's the link there, and you can search for us there too. And we invite to also recruiters to sign up. But at this point, I don't know, since COVID, they haven't been as active. But before COVID, for example, agency would sign up with us. So I'm going to try, if I have time, to check with some of the agents to see if they are still online or not. So, but if you're interested, please sign up. Okay, and now we go to the next thing, which is about our sponsor. So today's sponsor, who's hosting the space and also sponsoring the food, is IBM. So thank you very much again to IBM. And so, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and then I just want to say again, Neo4j was our previous gold sponsor, and now we're working on a new sponsor, which is actually Jerrison's company. So we have still get all the paperwork done, so it should be in the next month. So stay tuned for that. And we also have Friends of CJUG, and they are the other Java users group. As you know, Java users group are very loosely organized group. We are all run by volunteers all over the world, and in all continents too, except Antarctica, I think, and Arctic Circle, I guess. But otherwise too, we have Java users group everywhere. And CJUG, we have friends, especially with these ones, Atlanta JUG, Boston, Garden State in New Jersey, Kansas City, which is where Billy Corando is from, and he runs that, Casey. And New York Java SIG, the oldest Java users group in the US, and Pittsburgh, Portland, and also the virtual Java users group too. So please look them up. And also too, I'm going to share, if you're interested, I can share the slide deck, and there are links to all of these groups too. So you can visit them and see when they will be doing events. And sometimes they have virtual events as well that you can join. So, okay. And next thing, news. The big news is tomorrow, Java 25 will be launched. And also there's a launch stream. So if you go there, actually, let me go over here. Oops, not very good. Let's see. Okay, so this link basically too is from dev.java, that community site. And so they have a launch stream tomorrow by the developer relations team. That should be interesting too. I think tomorrow they will start at 3, but the 3 is actually Central European time. So that will be like 8 o'clock. Yeah, 7 hours. So 8 o'clock our time here. They will start, and then there are just various programs will be tomorrow too. So if you're interested in some of these topics and see all of the new features, they will be describing all of these there. So it looks like it's pretty cool too. So looks like it's like a 3-4 hours of events. So if you're interested, please join them, and you can join it, and go to that site and you'll get to the live stream from here. So yeah, so that's that. Let me go back to our thing here. Okay, that's that. Okay, so now then I'll introduce quickly the speaker. Number one speaker is Madhu Bhangi. Yeah. Oh, Caroline first. Okay, I didn't know. You can say, okay, so Caroline will go first, and he's a customer success architect at IBM, and he's also his product areas include Watson X and Guardium. That he was going to talk about Guardium, and then previous companies included Kiteworks and Excellion. Yeah, so welcome. And then I'll go back. The second speaker is Madhu Bhangi, who's the one who's organizes and hosting us today. So thank you very much. He's a principal sales architect, and he also works on AI and automation design and deployment. He's also an enterprise. He has deep experience in being an enterprise architect in cloud, middleware, and containers. Previous companies included CenturyLink and Quest Communications. So thank you to both again. And so now I'll turn the stage over to Caroline first. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, launch tomorrow.
On my computer. So that's what one or two of them. Always on in the lower part where right side. Yep. And something pops up saying Java update is available. So I don't know if it's a spam or real Java update.
Oh, it pops up and tells you to update it. It tells you what is telling you to update. Maybe I will have to take a look because I don't think normally you would get that kind of a pop up. And you could have gone to some sites that are yeah like a spam, right? Yeah. Yeah, they but the thing is it's not usual that it will pop up to tell you, right? No, yeah. So yeah, it could be some some like yeah spam thing that comes up too. So yeah, I have to look at it to see. Yeah, okay. But anyway, I will grab my and then I'll let you take back. Oh, yeah, and you can yeah you can close that too. Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Oh yes.
Well, hi everyone. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming here to the
Thank you.
presentation here, and also, of course, you know, are there going to be any Java presentations after us,
Java after
or just us? Is it okay?
yeah,
Okay,
this is you
okay,
and then yeah,
okay,
so
okay.
that's your
Fine.
presentation.
Yeah. But I look forward to connecting more and following you, CJUG in future. So just let me talk like the topic for my discussion is and I'll keep it short. I don't want to just overwhelm with a lot of details, but the idea here is I'll talk more about as the AI space is evolving with so many I would say generative AI solutions coming up every day. It's what's IBM strategy in terms of making sure to get first of all visibility of how within an organization AI gets used, and the second thing is to make sure it is there are sufficient controls to say that there's a proper use of AI happening in an organization. So this is a product which it's IBM is partnering with a company called AI, and it's basically IBM is calling it Guardium AI Security. Just a quick refresher on the Guardium suite of products. Guardium, I think, focuses mostly on the data security aspect. So one of the core products here is called Guardium Data Protection, and that's main use cases in terms of monitoring database access. For example, it kind of is on the operating system layer. It looks at who is connecting to the database, what's happening, and in cases, especially in cases there are breaches or some data exfiltration or whatever, right? So it helps to first of all, make satisfy the auditors, and the second is it's also used in investigations. But this product is, as I mentioned, is focusing on AI security, and I'll just briefly talk about how this does it, in terms of what are the various aspects when we are deploying AI within our organization. We have to keep in in terms of uh, keep some kind of a control over. So first, I'll just start with a quick slide on what is the life cycle of this. Just let me move this over. Okay. All right. I think it's not perfect, but yeah, it's. Let me see if I can put it. All right. So All right, so there are four aspects. First is discovering, right? Like where are like where you start looking at organization, people come, you're starting to use agentic AI, you're starting to use LLM endpoints, you're using chat gpt, using perplexity. First is actually discovering what's happening, like who's using what within the company, right? So many products, or you're using bedrock in AWS or Azure's OpenAI. There's so many flavors right now, and also provided by the various cloud providers. The discovery itself is becomes a huge challenge. Like just knowing within an organization which departments are using AI and how they are using it, right? And then of course how software developers are using it. Like you building applications that are using, let's say OpenAI's models, or any other Claude's model, or Mixtral, or whichever model. How do you even know which the software developers, what models are being used, right? So that becomes a challenge. And once you discover all your AI assets, right, like what models, what endpoints, is to understand whether those are configured securely, right? That's the assessment piece of it. In terms of looking at, like, if there are any vulnerabilities, like obviously as Java developers you might have looked at OWASP, especially when you're building web applications. What are the required security requirements for a secure web application? But similarly, as we now use more and more of these AI models and services, we have to make sure they are configured securely, or they can be exploited. So there are many ways, like you can exploit them, and some of them we'll talk about going forward. But yeah, the second piece is assessment, to see these AI services and models are configured securely, or are used in a safe manner. And the third part is obviously having some control around it, so that you can make sure your policies, your security policies, are adhered to by different applications that are being used in the company. And the last part I would say is important for compliance, is you have to provide reports to the auditors, or to, if there are industry regulations which you need to adhere to. As a, let's say, as a bank, you might have certain regulations. As a If you're handling credit card data, you might have certain regulations, and so on. So I'll just dive a little bit into the actual product, what it does, and then we can take any questions. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions on this. So this is kind of the product. I think the main thing here is that this is kind of a dashboard. It gives you and tells you in terms of your safety, like in terms of it like looks at all the different AI assets within your company, and evaluates them, and see whether how secure they are. So there are a few aspects it's looking at. It's looking at shadow AI resources. Now, what I think the big challenge here is, shadow AI is like, if company within a company, developers start using um, AI services which are not like approved, right? Like for example, the, there may be a policy to only use OpenAI, but you start using other products, then or you only use Copilot, for example, and you start using other products. So one is looking at first getting an understanding of where what is the approved and what's non-approved use of AI. Second, I would say is looking at the specific vulnerabilities. Like here, just to give you an example here, we can see there are 70 critical vulnerabilities here, issues. So what it does is it's for, I think from a operation perspective, it will go into the configuration what it's basically doing, but it's looking at different AI assets and then evaluating if these assets have vulnerabilities. So let's say we have a Python library here, let's say ClearML, that's being used, although it's approved. We can look at these CVEs here. So I think this, I mean, obviously, in the Java world, we've seen things like Log4j and all can wreak havoc. But obviously, irrespective of what software it is, whether what programming language, the vulnerabilities exist across the space. So if any of the AI applications have these vulnerabilities, it can first scan for those and then provide a dashboard of that. But more than that, it can also look at, like if you're looking at some of these vulnerabilities, it can also tell you specifically why this, let's say if it's using a library which is outdated, and it can further go ahead and you can open a pull request out from here and then upgrade the library and so on and so forth. So definitely it takes you a step forward towards the remediation of these vulnerabilities. But I think just the visibility that some of these applications which are leveraging AI have these vulnerabilities is a big plus in itself. Um, so going back to the inventory, let me start off with talking about how it is doing what it is doing. So I think one part of this is kind of without this aspect, most of places you'll see that you'll have a manual process of knowing what AI assets are used in an organization. Like, so let's say, in this case, I'm on a admin level, so I can add a lot of accounts here. And in terms of, you can also see it gives me an option to link a new account. So we got everything here. I mean, the main ones, like you have AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, IBM's Watson, Databricks, and Snowflake. And usually you'll see Databricks used more in Azure over Databricks. But again, the first part is as to get this visibility is adding these different cloud providers up in the dashboard here. And then once it has it can start looking at what and you can define a discovery policy, can say that as these assets get discovered, within your cloud, like you have AWS SageMaker or something, then as it comes in, whether you want to approve it or you want to review it first, right? And or keep it rejected unless you approve it manually. So there is a way, to kind of, and you can do it based on AI services, software models and so on. So it does give you a lot of different way of defining the default behavior as it scans and finds new assets, what to do with those. um, so that's once it starts scanning and pulling these different AI assets, it will start um, you know um, uh, showing up in the inventory. So then it also has things like dependency files. A lot of times, like if I don't know whether it does Maven, for example, but like these examples are for Python. But if you have a way to define the dependencies, and you can, just by looking at that, you can know whether any of those softwares used are outdated, have vulnerabilities, and so on. And then of course it can hook with your like hook into the code repositories. So I think it supports GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab and Azure DevOps. So those are the four uh, code repository. It supports, and the idea is then of course it can start scanning code and looking at what vulnerabilities there are in that code base. And then there of course hosted services, pretty much for, I think this is for OpenAI. That's what it is. And so that's what it does, is it brings up scans for all this, and then you can start looking at the issues here, right? So that's kind of the main configuration of it. Like it's automated. It doesn't need it to be manually added to the inventory, right? So that's the idea here. Um, let's look at so so after that, I would just quickly talk about the I mean, the security posture management for AI, and I think there are a few things here. I mean, I just talk about how the security differs when you're looking at standard web applications versus standard or when it comes to AI applications. Is looking at how to look for problems, right? In terms of, let's say, a pen test, right? So so when you in this case, the type of vulnerabilities you start looking are different. Like you can see prompt injection is one of these vulnerabilities here. And that's kind of most of these would be very specific to LLM endpoints, and I think it can do two things. If you have a model artifacts available, it can scan those model artifacts. Otherwise, it can start running these uh, pen test against the LLM endpoints. So whether local within the company or public endpoints, it can do that. But obviously there are some you have to be aware of not overwhelming the API usage of those using these pen text, but we can get an idea of type of issues it will look at within the LLM endpoints and the models. So that's the I would say the pen test aspect of this. Um, and then I think quickly I'll talk about the controls around, like, if you want to control how AI gets used. Like instead of pointing directly to the endpoints in the cloud, you can actually set up a AI gateway, and the gateway is where the applications or the and applications or even the users can go and send the prompts and get the responses. So in this particular aspect, I would just talk about the what this gateway is doing, right? Like there are two aspects of this gateway. As a prompt comes in to the gateway, it can look at the prompt and sanitize stuff here. And the other aspect of this is when a response comes from LLM, it can look at sanitizing that. So and I think we can look at one of these controls here, like in the policies. Uh, All right, so you can see some stuff, some of these. Let's pick one. PII, for example, that's a good one. So you can see there is some the action here is it's set to alert, but you can modify it, tokenize it, block it. So what it means is if it detects that in a prompt that is being sent to an LLM endpoint, for example, it sees any of these categories of personal data, then it can take this action. For example, this is set to alert right now, but as I mentioned, you can change it. And also this can be synchronous or asynchronous, right? So obviously when you set it in synchronous mode, then this action would you I mean, especially if you it will block the client till you get a response uh, from the backend. Or if it's an input, obviously it'll do its stuff, and then only there has to be synchronous. But if it's an output role, then obviously it can evaluate the LLM's response asynchronously and then send you an alert, for example, right? So this is another way you can define controls around how AI gets used. But obviously that means from a networking perspective, you'll have to block these endpoints from not being available, and everyone has to go to the AI gateway to access the AI services. Then I think that's about it. And I would say the last part of this would be the compliance aspect, because obviously the whole idea is you would want to make sure you are in terms of keeping in from a and lot of these fines are we have seen are coming up for the use of AI now. European Union has its own acts, and even in other geographies, we are seeing more and more regulation coming around AI. So this provides a good amount of documentation for responding to those audits or responding to the regulators if needed. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to show. Any questions or anything you wanted, around AI, and wanted to see if any of you are seeing, any AI applications you're building and how security is being implemented around it. So open to any questions.
Public access to
Hmm?
this IBM audience.
This is, I mean, this is not a public, yeah, it's more, there's a trial, I mean, trial can be done, but it's more like it's more sold to like the organizations, like if a company wants to try it out, things like that. But it's not, yeah, because you have to integrate it with your own cloud accounts and everything. So it's a little, I would say, takes some setup there. Yeah. Yeah. Hi.
How does it handle local AI like Olama and other tools like that?
Yeah, it obviously. I mean, if you're using Olama just without actually writing anything to the code base, like if you if like I think the only way it would know is if you check in something into the code base, and that refers to using Olama or any other AI service. But in itself, it can't scan locally what users are downloading or developers are downloading. It doesn't have visibility on that. Yeah. All right, Madhu. Hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm Madhu Bhangi. I'm Principal Customer Success Architect at IBM. I generally work in post sales, helping customers to deploy software. Most of the time, we when we work with the customers, IBM has like so many different kinds of software and used by different personas all across the board. Like you have business users, infrastructure users, security users, then the developers. One of the I came from development, so one of the
Should we
oh,
do the raffle?
I forgot.
Oh, sorry. I just
Got carried away.
I'm going to change the agenda a little bit because I actually have a meeting at 7, between 7 and 8. So I will do the raffle first, and then that way too is get yeah, and we'll get it sorted out, and then Madhu can talk as long as he wish to. So okay, so I'm just gonna quickly ask Madhu to. You want to go to
Okay.
sorry to this site called Wheel of Names. Yeah, wait. Wheel of Names, wheelofnames.com.
What?
Wheel of Names.
Wheelofnames.com.
Wheel of Names, yeah.
Okay. And
Names. There, you can just enter 4 names: Thomas, and then Ahmet, Ahmet, and Gauri, GF, G. Same 4 people. Okay, so we'll do it. We'll pick 2, and there are 4 entries. So we have Thomas, Ahmet, Gauri, and Anura. Am I correct? Anybody else wants to enter? Okay, or if you're eligible. Okay, good. Okay, cool. So we'll do 2 spins. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay, now you can remove that. Okay, and then
Okay.
one more spin.
odds increased.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait. It's not done yet.
Thomas. I'll be sending you the email. There's licenses. So thank you, Madhu. Thank you for this small interruption. So thank you. Enjoy.
Okay, there you go. All right. So where was I? Yeah. So one of the in the various personas, and I was a developer. One of the challenges that I always see is like we develop an application, we deploy it, it's running perfectly, no issues, everything, but there are still people not happy, and more often than not, that is number one, security team, thanks to Kalyan, and then the next one is the infrastructure team. They keep coming back to you saying that you're consuming too many resources. Why do you need this much? You need to like make it efficient. You don't need that much. Or we need to move the servers, and then why do we need? How do we move it? And how do you take the downtime? And is it something that you need to disrupt or not? Uh, with infrastructure world, like many time developers, as developers, we do not understand the infrastructure side of the whole IT. It's too complicated, it's too much hidden from us, it's too low level. Over years, I was a developer, I was working too close to databases and infrastructures. I became an infrastructure architect, and I started seeing the other side of it. Infrastructure team is always on pressure to optimize the resources and bring the costs down. When you take hypervisors, these as the world moved on to virtual machines and you have hypervisors run 200 300 virtual machines on them, and they are running at like 400 500 CPUs, terabytes of data and RAM, with all of them on one host. And anytime they move the VMs from one place to another place, they need to be as efficient as they can be, and they need to save the money. So that challenge exists everywhere for developers. IBM Turbonomic is a product that IBM purchased a while ago, and initially focused for virtual machine optimization for the VMs and how the VMs are consuming what resources and can they optimize the host. Then later on it developed into more intrusive way of monitoring VMs on what the applications are consuming to so that they can optimize the VMs themselves, not just the hypervisors. Now bring in the world of cloud, right? In cloud, we all start with in the cloud thinking that, okay, I can do whatever I want, only to a certain extent. After some time, you cannot do everything that you want because it's going to cost too much. Cloud grant, like, it is easy for you to get started, but it is not cheap to stay on cloud. So you have to be efficient and nimble with the cloud, and you have to know what instance types you are using, what kind of resources or storage. Did you release the storage after your VM is done? Are your disk cleaned up? All of that. So IBM Turbonomic is a product that brings it all together for people at one place. And it is mostly like what I noticed in my experience is that infrastructure engineers use that a lot, but from developer side, they don't understand what this means to them. Why do they need to use it? What can they do to make it better? Or how it can improve their applications and their life, right? So my intention was actually to create a very specific developer focused presentation. I just didn't have time, so I'm just winging it. Quickly on the Turbonomic itself is like it's going to talk about like how Turbonomic identifies the resources, what kind of resources that it monitors, and what does it do to track. Then it talks about how you can integrate like an application performance monitoring to have a better relationship between the performance of the application with the infrastructure itself, and all the things that Turbonomic itself can do, like right sizing the VMs and then Kubernetes optimization. You're running several applications in containers. Then in Kubernetes, you can optimize and you use vertical autoscalers and all of that. However, anytime you are moving the parts between nodes, you don't know if the node itself is overloaded with the parts until you create the specific autoscalers on them and totally design your optimization mechanism, which typically the middleware architects do. But that itself requires quite a bit of experience and understanding of these tools to be able to optimally manage the resources even in Kubernetes pods. Overall, like that, all of those things, Turbonomic completely automates it. I myself, like, initially knowing the development, knowing infrastructure, knowing how any of these things work, honestly, like, not just because it's IBM product, I was pretty impressed with it, how it does all of this. So with that, one of the things like IBM Turbonomic, what it does is that once you set up Turbonomic is actually agentless. It is probe based, so you configure that at the hyperscaler level. If you are like VMware or Nutanix or Dell, any of the hyperscalers you have, then you configure with the hyperscaler access. If it is cloud, you just give access to your AWS cloud or Azure cloud at the account level and billing level. Turbonomic then goes in and then looks at all of the resources and stitches up a stack to say that where your applications are and then what servers are calling which servers, and then what storage is underneath, where it is going, how they are connected. And then it generates actions for all of these servers, VMs, and storages, saying that this VM in last 30 days, it 95% of the time it used only 60% of the resources. So you don't really need that much. You can actually scale it down to a different instance type. Or if this VM consistently running at 90% CPU utilization or 90% memory, you need to scale this up. Otherwise, your application may be facing performance. So it gives that insights into it. And that what the infrastructure engineers see is that, okay, continuously these things are happening. Then you flip it to the developer side. What we notice is that developers don't either understand or don't trust it. They don't understand because the intrinsics of what Turbonomic can do and how it is gathering all of the information, how you can customize it to what your own specific needs. And they don't trust it because they don't know that how Turbonomic is doing this. So how can I trust it? My application, one of the customers says that, for example, my application is yeah, you are saying that it's not using anything, but my application needs to end of the month from 29th to like the next month first, it needs the 90% of the resources, so I have to keep that instance running. In fact, Turbonomic, and then probably there are other tools that I know that there are other tools that try to do these things, but not as intrusive and intensive as Turbonomic. So the way they do it, what we did for them is that essentially we set up plans where watch every day the load of your VM to say if load crosses 80%, scale it up and then take it to the next level. And for 2 days, if the load is not taking as much, then scale it down so that you can save your CPU credits from the cloud for those 25 days. So there is quite a bit of flexibility in the Turbonomic, and that's the part that as developers, if we understand that, and we can actually help the other side of the company, like in infrastructure side, saying that, okay, I'm open for Turbonomic to optimize this, but these are my needs and how can I achieve that? So that is the essential, how Turbonomic works and does all of these things. It can do various different things. You can actually just play out a plan. If you have an application which is consuming like some 20-30 VMs, then you can create a plan and say, what if I put these VMs in a different instance type? What would my performance would look like? What would be the cost would be for the cloud, and how much my organization will save as money? So you can show back to your management and say that, hey, our application is consuming this much resources now, but we need that only this much, and this is how the performance would look like if we go and make these changes, and that will save the money to the company. So there's a continuous planning you can do, and then you can remove the storages. It can automatically track the storages that are unused in cloud, and you can set up parking, saying that, okay, I am doing development now, but my development is going because application is mature and is already in production, or I don't need this application to be running every day. You can actually park the VMs with Turbonomic, where it just goes, put them on standby mode and brings them back on whenever you need them. So there are a number of things that you can do. Understanding this helps developers significantly, whether or not they need to do something about the VMs or applications that they're doing. At least they can have someone comes and says that, hey, your application is taking too many resources. Yes, it's going to need to take so many resources at this time and this time and this time, and these times it's not going to take resources. The action generation to identify a resource is like what is consuming, and is it reliably or like expected to consume, and then can we scale up or down? that itself can be configured. So Turbonomic uses statistics modeling internally to identify if the resources are what is the standard deviation for the resources for the Turbonomic to identify like a proper action. It can, you can say that I want Turbonomic to watch whether this VM is what the usage on the VM to generate an action for 1 week, every 1 week, watch for like the past 1 week, and as long as the and take only the 95% of utilization as a benchmark, or take full 100% utilization or 99% utilization as a benchmark, or take only 60% utilization benchmark. So you can customize all of that to generate actions, and it automatically generates actions, and it tells you if a scale up action is disruptive. That means if you make that VM change, is it going to have to reboot the VM, or is something you're doing something with the storage, is it going to remount the storage? Because sometimes you can grow a storage and you without a disruption and the storage just grows, but when you shrink a storage, is going to try to copy the whole storage somewhere else and then create a new disk for you. So Turbonomic automatically identifies and then notifies you when you have an action that is it going to disrupt your application or not, so that you can plan properly. So many of these things are possible, and you can get enough enough optimizations, and then you can get enough many customers actually, when their application teams are willing, there are some customers, essentially it all comes to application teams willing part, they have saved like $50,000 a month. Some of them saved like couple of 100,000 a year, uh, and basically the software probably generally pays for itself is the selling point. But from developer side, like the benefit for us is to, when you show that your services have enough return on investment, especially it's good for when your application is kind of on the return of investment like borderline, then you can automatically show like, okay, if you use Turbonomic, you bring the cost down, your application all of a sudden is more viable. With that, I'm going to quickly show with a couple of screen cells. So it can do GPU optimization and cluster optimization for Kubernetes, and it can do vertical scaling of containers workloads themselves, containers, and it can move containers into nodes that are not fully occupied within clusters. And you can basically there was another thing I was going to mention, I forgot. Yeah, it can actually monitor the databases, and it can optimize the databases and the servers for the database. It can optimize cloud native databases as well, and it can tell you on which plan. So sometimes what happens is we actually create the VMs, and then we create applications on VMs, or we create applications in Kubernetes clusters, but we don't have visibility into the billing, and these resources, that services that we're using may or may not be mapping back to a discount plan that the company has. And Turbonomic can actually alert the developers and the infrastructure engineers on this VMs that you are using is actually being charged at on-demand rate. And then if it makes sense to you, then you can go back and have them reassign the credits onto your application so that you can bring your costs down. The goal is to, if being developers, if we are aware of the feature set of Turbonomic or some tools like that, then you can make use of that to bring the cost down for your operating cost down for your application to make it look more viable. All right, so yes.
Does it allow, like, how would the developers know what the cost, like, so can you pull in those kind of information?
Yes. So this is, as I was saying, Turbonomic currently originally developed and targeted for infrastructure engineers, and because of that, all of that information is more understandable for infrastructure engineers. And some of us are on the side, we are trying to develop a developer persona tool set. That's one thing that I'm focusing on right now on a silent project within IBM to make it more palatable for developers, I would say, more understandable, where show only the relevant information for developers. And the information, one of that is actually the cost. It anytime there is an action that generates on a VM, for example, that's the most common thing that everybody sees. If it is a scale up VM, it shows right away that, okay, this is how much you're spending on the VM on a month, and this is what it will cost by this is the new cost if you execute this action. And then go into that either size up, then it goes like this is how much more you will pay. If it's a size down, it says this is how much you will say. So all of that is right there. Turbonomic will show.
Does it help the developers then? Like you talk about fine tuning for developers. So you have your development environment and production. You probably are not running the same kind of data and that, right? Like,
Yes.
can it simulate what that the cost looks like? Does it give you?
You can run plans with showing that, okay, this is my environment, and then I want to make this environment run with this different instance types and what it would cost, and it will show the plan and what the cost would be. And the plan is just hypothetical, so it is not going to execute it. So the planning use case is more for actually production migrations. So if someone is moving from one cloud to another cloud, it can show your resources in this cloud. If they were to go to this cloud, what it will cost. So your resources on-prem, if you can run a plan and say that if you send it over to the cloud, what it will cost, or even within the host are changing. You can develop plan on anything pretty much. Like you identify what your plan consists of, and then once you create the plan and then you show the plan, then it will actually show what the total cost of the plan is, execution would be. You can promote that plan to become executable plan, and then it will generate actions for executing the plan, or you can just discard it. It's used a lot by infrastructure capacity planners to exactly do that, is moving from hypervisors between the hosts and moving from hypervisors into cloud. They do quite a bit of planning in that. Right, so again, I was originally planning to do some custom demo, but didn't have time. I'm going to just use like Kalyan and then use our sales demo. Right, so when this what like what we call them like a target. So when we target this one here, when we see on-prem, for example, this is targeted to a VMware hypervisor, and Turbonomic will pull everything that is in that VMware environment, and what it identifies what are applications. So you would get these applications if you have an APM tool attached to it, more intrusively. Like say if you integrate IBM's performance monitoring tool is Instana, or if you integrate Dynatrace or New Relic or any of these app dynamics, then it can pull actually, and then it can show the full stack of what is all in there. If you did not integrate it, you can get up to like containers if you are targeting Kubernetes, and then you will get up to service level. Then you will see virtual machines, and then it can go all the way up to the host. And then it will also go like if you have multiple data centers, then where the data centers are. It has a full tracing capabilities of what's all in that stack that it can look through. Big developers, we generally probably don't care this much because this is all for infrastructure engineers. That's all they're focusing on, right? So what as a developer would be looking at, you would be looking at like an application container, and in this we can go into application components and pick one of the components and then go inside it to see. Wait, come on. Let me. This is acting up a little too much here. There. Okay. So you can see, what the response time for that application is, and then for that specific application, what actions for the components that the application itself is using. And you can find out like which component, and um, if you go into say one of these components, right, something I just picked randomly, and this one ran, right, Tomcat is running on one container, and this is all green, so there are no actions on it. This application component which we just went through has some actions on it, and then you can see those actions that wait, I'll pick a better one, not this. There's not much on this. So these are like various virtual machines, and you can see that like they have performance actions on some of them. And let's say if I go into one of them, this virtual machine has volumes and zones, and there's a one critical action that says that this virtual machine needs to be scaled up because like okay. So now here you can see that like what is the virtual machine and what is the current capacity and what is the after action capacity if you do that, and why it is recommending it, right? Between September 7th and this time, the virtual machine utilization is at this level, right? So because of that, you may be seeing performance issues with it. Then it's also going to show the cost impact. What's the current cost and what would be the cost later? And is it using, like what if you are using the reserved instances rates versus on-demand rates? Then it will show all of that details. Um, hey, that's the kind of high level. I could go to several different components and explain how each of them work. Any questions specifically, and or do you want me to drill down further into something? What? Yeah.
You can ask. So high level it helps you with cost, but like does it help developers with figuring out, what would be more efficient way to do it? Like can it actually get it?
So if you have an APM tool attached to it, then you can actually see from the stack that this component in your application is consuming this much capacity, and it will actually stitch them together and show them that which components in your application is consuming this, and if there is an opportunity to reduce it. um, it it will tell you you are consuming this much for sure, right? Because that's all it has visibility into at this level, at Turbonomic level. But the moment you put an APM tool, then it can trace it back and say that okay, this is what's coming in, and it sends the information back to APM tool and identifies, and then you can know. Yes.
Can it provide learning where, because one of the issues I see is, okay, so we've scaled it up, but we have a situation where we're actually doing more business. And so it's going to stay scaled up and might actually start pushing against that. And if I understand right, it could scale up further. Is there learning to where if it's scaling up past an expected time frame that it starts warning you so that you can look at it and maybe rethink deployments?
Yeah, that is the main goal. In fact, is Turbonomic is marketed as application resource performance monitoring. So the moment you set up your actions on, generally out of the box, Turbonomic comes with a 95% utilization as a benchmark and an observance period of about 30 days. So in last 30 days, 95% of the time, what was your consumption? And if you're consistently 95% of the time below 60% per se, then it's going to come and say, you were down, not using enough for 95% of the time, so you should scale down. And if you're using consistently 90% and it says that, okay, then you can also set up the benchmark, and you can set up benchmarks for each of the things. Like you can put it for CPUs, memory, and network IO, so all of them. And then you will generate an action saying that you have been consistently at the borderline, you probably need to scale up. And you can adjust that 95 days, 95%, and then the number of days. Some applications will say like, I want you to watch only 7 days, and I have one the other use case I was saying, we had it for I think 12 hours. So if in 12 hours you're consistently high, just change instant type automatically so that they don't need to even go back and do something.
Useful in cases where we have a deployment, the deployment happened to deploy a slower version of the software, and watching it scale up, detect that, and say, oh, we need to focus on enhancing the software to bring that back.
Yes, definitely. Like if there is an application that you deployed and it's everybody likes it and start using more and more and more, and you can set it to automatically scale up so that you don't have to worry about is it within the limits or not. You can set up alerts, and these actions, when they are generated, you can set those actions to be also automatically executed or manual execution. So if you want to integrate with a ServiceNow and have ServiceNow go and approve them, and somebody to approve the action to be performed, and you can integrate there. So anytime it's, let's say, scale down or scale up, an action generated, then it goes and creates a ServiceNow ticket, and that goes to whoever team, and then if they approve it, it comes back and executes the action.
Can it do cloud spin-ups and apps? Can it do spin-ups and spin-outs?
Yes, that is the parking. And what we can do is when you have VMs, you can say that I want these VMs to be put in standby mode, like bring down all these EC2s every night at like 6 p.m. Like if your development team is the only people using it, then you can shut them down from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. and put them on parking, and then weekends. That way you are not consuming those credits, idle credits for them.
Like when you're actually running something, you spin it out on it, shut it down. What's it this time about?
Didn't follow that.
The VMs,
Mhm.
you want something, shut it down.
If yes, you can. The what you can do is all the actions have several integration pre and post workflow scripts. So you can do a pre-action generation flow, you can do a action generation flow, then you can do an action execution flow, post-action execution flow, and you can customize with any of those things. You can actually, most of my customers, what I recommend to them is if they have Ansible, then create your scripts in Ansible, but have Turbonomic spin them off, so that if you start putting all the scripts like in the best practice way, like then all your scripts are in Turbonomic and then your usual scripts are in Ansible, you don't know what's doing what, then the best way is that have your scripts at one place, have Turbonomic spin them up. Anything else? No. I thank you, and thank you very much for seeing this one. This is our first hosting of Java user group. We are hoping to host more, and not just for Java but other ones too. So Mary and I were talking like, we have 1 week. Can we pull this off? And it's like, I really need to try this. I don't know what all we can need to go through by setting up this room and visitor passes and Wi-Fi's. I'm glad. Thank you. Kalyan, take a photo. We need to post on ours. We got to show to our management that like we got people. We are on sales, right? We still have to sell.